Welcome back to another episode of Bytes and Beats. It's been a while. I'm going to be honest with you. It's been a while. Partially, of course, we've had a lot of the space being occupied by other stuff, rightfully so. Because, to be fair, this is done somewhere that has a lot of foot traffic. So there's that. So I wasn't able to record the past couple of weeks, unfortunately. Let me just adjust this mic a little bit, just in case y'all not hearing me properly. Alright, so, yeah. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to record. But definitely with that in mind, I'm going to keep this episode short and to the point. Yes, this mic seems to decide to move on its own, but hopefully you hear me clearly. And so, yeah. Today's episode, really and truly, I want to keep it very simple. And I'm looking at it on the sense or under the concept that the reality of things in terms of how people use technology is quite poor. And yeah, let's sort of get into it, because what it really is, or where the concern stem from, is that for one, a lot of persons utilize technology on a day-to-day basis and don't know basic technological knowledge. And by that I mean simply, starting for this episode at least, but I can do this in parts, how to use a computer. So like basic operation, knowing how to turn on and turn off a computer, navigating through the operating system, and using more or less essential applications such as a file manager. Some persons who work in offices may use Microsoft Word and their email softwares and all of that. And so it sort of gets tricky in that regard when you have to deal with the various age groups and so forth. And so, I think it's something that we need to look into getting persons more inept with, or engaged with, I guess is the correct term. Because the reality of the situation is that, for one, technology is here to stay. Right? But just being able to just know that you can click here, click that, and not be able to manipulate it a lot better. So like using shortcuts, for one, definitely is a high thing on the list for me. Once I start learning a new software, for example, I like to find out the shortcuts and see how best I can navigate around it. And even just basic shortcuts, everyday shortcuts to use on the computer. So stuff like that are really and truly helpful. Right? So that being the first thing, just basic operation, I believe that everybody should really try to up their game in that regard, especially when it comes to utilizing shortcuts. Another thing that I think persons need to really delve into, and this is not just in the creative space, but even just on our day-to-day basis, is file management. Because the more organized you are in terms of where you put your files, how to create a folder, how to add a new folder to a folder, how to utilize even compressed zip folders, for example, the easier it is for you to do certain things, especially in regards to storing your files. And some persons just would store it on a flash drive, which of course is good if you want something accessible and offline, but you have to also consider things like cloud storage. All right. Now, as I said, being organized in regards to where your files are stored and how they're stored helps to eliminate the problem of trying to hunt down a file. Because let's say, for example, you go into a folder and all it has is MP3 files with some bad names and all that. You're not going to be able to find your songs quickly, especially as a DJ. If you're utilizing various softwares, whether it be Virtual, Serato, or Recordbox, we all know the importance of properly labeling our songs in the metadata. But even so, if you label your songs properly in terms of the file name, then that is an added bonus right there. Yeah? So stuff like that, I think persons really and truly should look into as well. But I think on my main channel, for those who don't know, this is a separate channel from the Bytes and Beats Podcast channel. I want to go through some of those stuff just to sort of give my contribution to that kind of stuff for a lot of persons. Yeah. So just in case of anything, it may be in the description. If not, you can also go over and subscribe to that YouTube page. That's NASAAL. That's the page. And if you want to, you can subscribe and follow along just in case I actually do post it. So yeah, there's that. But something else that comes with basic technological knowledge is troubleshooting. Because not all the time you'll have somebody nearby you to sort of fix your problems. And Google has always been resourceful. If you type in error codes, if you type in even the problem that you're genuinely having, then sometimes you actually get the response quicker than actually trying to call somebody to fix your problems. And some problems, surprisingly enough, are simple to fix with just simply restarting the device, letting it come up, and trying whatever it is again. Some things might get a little more technical, right? Especially if you've got a virus and you need to sort of remove other software that is contributing to the virus, or even bloatware that may have been installed with the virus, for example. I don't hear much about that happening these days, thankfully. But nonetheless, I think it's something that persons should bear in mind in terms of just basic troubleshooting, for one. And two, in terms of, for example, as I mentioned, file management, being able to clear away unnecessary files, such as the temporary files, your internet browser files. But I wouldn't trouble the internet browser files too much, in the sense that persons may have stored passwords and things, right? But I know that when you're looking at the options to delete internet information, they normally separate passwords and stuff like that. So you can just uncheck that box before you actually hit OK. Depending on your browser, the options may look somewhat different, but I know that passwords definitely is one of the keywords that they use to highlight that option, because of course everybody more or less wants their passwords to be saved in their browsers, especially when you have a lot of unique passwords for certain websites and all that. So yeah, as I said though, I'm keeping this episode short for the sake of, firstly just putting out some content, because I haven't put out anything in a while. Alright, I wanted to do a music section, but unfortunately, given the time that I had to do the recording, for one, it's not going to be as I hoped to have gotten it done. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a short episode today. All right, but let's just recap basic technological knowledge that I think people should have. Long and short is just how to use a computer, the basic operations, how to do better file management, and of course, basic troubleshooting that can help them in and out of their day-to-day operations. It's just a simple thing, right? It's not anything too complicated, and as I said, I might delve into it a little bit more, right? But that's the major topic for today, right? I know a lot of persons may have their questions and concerns. You can definitely leave them below in the comments, and I will even probably just look to address them in a separate video on my main channel, for example. So that would be a good approach, I guess. Or even just staying back in the comments and commenting and giving some feedback. All right? But for now, until we move on to our next video or my next audio podcast, depending on which platform you're on, please do remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you're on those platforms. I'm on TikTok at Bytes and Beats Podcast. And surprisingly enough, we got the Instagram page open. We haven't put any content out just yet by the time you're seeing this recording, but it's up. You can go ahead and follow the page so you keep up to date when new episodes are posted. And until the next podcast, I will see you guys and talk to you guys a bit later. I'm out.